Hey, vinyl community, Jeff back again. And you know what? I just realized I started this a long time ago, started, did one, and haven't returned to it. Now that's basically, a artist spotlight or a what I have in my collection. I did one, wow, I should look back, many months ago on like everything I have by an artist. And I see a lot of people do that, my so-and-so collection. The one I did initially was Adam Ant, or Adam and the Ants. And I broke it up into two. I did CDs and the records that I had. So I'm not sure why I didn't do one after that. Things get crazy, and I'm not even exactly sure why I started with Adam Ant, except for I really love him. I thought it'd be something different. It is the A's. So I want to go ahead and resume that, to do this occasionally, just to kind of do some show and tell on some things that of actual collections. And I'm sticking with A. I didn't start with like the very first A. I just went with the band that I have a lot of stuff from. And so I'm going with Accept, one of the bands that I have the majority of their catalog. So in order to not make this too long, let's just breeze through some of this stuff to show some collections of Accept stuff. So this is the first Accept album, 1979. I picked up a copy of this. It's got some writing on it, but it was in excellent condition. I think it's an import version on one of the original labels, and I got that. Band was very different than we later learned, when they finally kind of broke in America. Around the Restless and Wild era is when we started really getting into them, and they became like one of the just best German metal bands out there. This one's a little, rock. It's got some different feel to it, but it is Accept, and you have to have it. So now, one of the ones I'm missing two actually. I'm a Rebel, the 1980 album, and Breaker, 1981. Now, if I get a copy of Breaker, I do want to get a copy of Breaker that is not like a U.S. repress, because they did censor at least one song, which is literally the one song as a teenager that I discovered the band through by my cousin's older brother, because it's SOB and it's got some language in it, and we just thought it was funny that they said that kind of stuff in songs. But then when it came out in America, it was greatly distorted to where you couldn't understand what he was saying. The word didn't make sense. And that's what appears on this compilation, Midnight Highway, which has songs from the first couple albums, including that song. But it is the edited version. I remember after hearing that song as a kid, and then later getting into Accept, and then later running out and buying the album with that on it, and then finding, I'm like, this is not the song we heard, because this doesn't have, this has got, the language is weird. It's not right. Later you realize it was censored. So, and this, I picked this up way back when I first started getting into vinyl records. I found this for a good price. I thought, I'll get that for the time being until I get some more Accept in my collection there. So, all right, and then coming up, this is where we basically got into them. 1982, Restless and Wild. This is about the time when we discovered, and they really were, this was like a step beyond Breaker. Breaker was starting to get that edge that we were later, known for as a band. This album, though, to me is almost just perfect. It's borderline speed metal, but it's just an amazing. We played this to death so much as kids. So anyway, this is absolutely one of my top albums, just because I guess, there's nostalgia of where you discovered the band and everything. But it still, to me, holds up. As does Balls to the Wall. That's the probably the second most popular album that we had back in the day, 1983. So yeah, great stuff. This is when they started breaking on MTV with the videos and stuff, and I think this probably Restless and Wild probably started it in America, but then with MTV and everything, Balls to the Wall took it to the next level and really put them on the map. Then in 1985 we have Metal Heart. It's a great album. I think it's still a great album, but I think at this point, they were starting to get more popular, and you started to kind of see a leaning towards a little more commerciality. I think if you ignore, just listen to it, it's great. It's just a band maturing a little further, and the videos and MTV and stuff again were a little more palatable, but still, I think it's a great album. It's a solid album. I think it's a good follow-up to Balls to the Wall. And I think really these three are kind of the, at least in my opinion, kind of a high water mark for the band. It's like from here, things started changing a little, but this to me is like one of the great ones. I don't know how to pronounce this, like Kaizoku Band. This is a live album. It's more of an EP. But yeah, it was a Japanese, I think, originally just a Japanese release, but anyway, it has been released in America and various things. So yeah, I grabbed, that's a great, just a little live EP there. 1986, we get Russian Roulette. Again, I think the commerciality continues here a little bit. The songs are a little more polished. The band's getting, you know, a little more, I don't know. It's still a great album. It's a great album. It is the final album with Udo Dirkschneider, the vocalist. And it's great, but I think it is a little more, there's some stuff on here that's a little weaker. But, you know, gotta have it. And then Staying Alive is a live album they put out in 1990 after Udo had left. This is a live album from the Metal Heart tour, which I believe that, yeah, that's the tour that I saw them on. Great tour. Just the band was at just top of their game for the Metal Heart era. And this great album that they released there. But then they turned around and they got a new singer in David Reese. He did this one-shot album for him in 1993. And it is a total different change. They had some videos. It's a little more commercial. His vocal styling obviously is very much radically different from Udo, who is a very unique vocalist. People love him or hate him. You know, it really depends. Very much more commercial, American flair, just, you know, fall into that hairband category for the most part. Just really nice and melodic. It's a solid album, but definitely weird for an Accept discography when you come from, you know, when you take such a radically different change. But you know, it is a great album in and of itself. You have to kind of get rid of that comparing it to the old, you know. And this is a kind of question I asked, like I asked in one of my videos recently about when a band changes singers, should they change names, start over, or ride the wave? This is one of those ones I think that's a good question mark there, because it is such a radically different change. Would the band have done better off changing names because it's a whole different style feel, and maybe they would not be compared so much to the old stuff to where it might hurt the release? Or did it help the release to label it Accept, even though people who are Accept fans may get it and hate it? It's just, it's really a tough call as to what to do. But anyway, needless to say, it didn't take long. And actually, I do realize now I had those out of order. So the live album came after that album. I guess it was kind of a, anyway, 1990. That's an 89 album. And then the Staying Alive album they did. Because then turned around in 1993 and Udo is back with Objection Overruled. And what an album. I think this takes us back to the glory days. This is Restless and Wild, Balls to the Wall on steroids. I mean, it's just a solid album. The band is back with the glory. They're back to form. I think this was just an amazing album to return to. The band is down to a 4-piece on here, but I just love this one. Love this one. And the follow-up, Death Row, 1994. Again, same Udo, everything, same. To me, this one is even on another level, too. Objection Overruled and Death Row, probably two of what I think are some of the strongest albums with Udo into the new era. So I think that these two were just at their prime. Great stuff. And absolutely necessary if you're into the Udo years. Then, in 1996, we get Predator. And at this point, I mean, you know, this is before we were really big on there really wasn't much of an internet at all. AOL online and stuff like that. It wasn't like you could follow and knew all the ins and outs. But at this point, I bought this and I'm like, okay, something's different. Udo's not on vocals, at least not all the time. The album had a different feel. It had a different sound. Udo was only part-time there. And then I started thinking, is he... I don't know. It was like, why is he not able to be in the studio for the whole album? Is he on the way out? Did they have a new singer? Some of the other guys in the band singing. There wasn't a lot of details, and you know, that were really searched out. So while there are some really good songs on this album, I think some really good songs, it is a transition because it's like something's changing here. And so this album always kind of had a weird place in my thoughts. I'm like, what is this album? What's happening? Why is there other people singing? Why does it just not feel quite up to par compared to the two that we just got bombarded with, you know, in previous years? So I don't know. But then, of course, in 2010, we are, introduced to a new singer when we come out with Blind Rage. And now in between here, they did release a live album with Udo from a live tour. That I don't have on vinyl either. I'm sorry, Blind Rage is the second album. Blood of the Nations is the first one. That's another one I do not have on vinyl. So Blood of the Nations comes out, introduces us to a new singer, singer from TT Quick. We got an American singer again, but absolutely, a phenomenal band. Again, the question raises, is it a new enough sound to where they should have changed names or continue on? I think the change was not as drastic as the change was when David Reese came in, and from Udo to David. From Udo to this sound, he still got somewhat of an aggressive voice, and so I think that really worked more. Blind Rage then is totally out of order, because before there was Blind Rage, there was Stalingrad. See, I've got my records mixed up. Stalingrad was 2012, Blood of the Nations 2010, which I do not have on vinyl. I have it on CD. Stalingrad came out, another solid album, and then that was followed up by Blind Rage. I think, I don't know how I got these out of order. Yes, so Blind Rage 2014. Again, so they've maintained consistency, and these albums are pretty consistent as far as some of the lyrical content here and there. Actually, on a later album, got to me kind of cheesy, but for the most part, the band is full force, straight up and straight down. Now, The Rise of Chaos is one that I do not have on vinyl. That's the one that's got some cheese factor in it, I think, in some opinion. There is a box set, Restless and Wild live box set, that I do not have any format of for that. 2018's Symphonic Terror, the live at Wacken album, I do not have that on vinyl. And then I do have Too Mean to Die. This is their most recent. Now, it's 2021. I haven't opened this. I have a digital copy. And what it is I bought this for a real good price when they first came out. It is limited to 300 copies on gold in swamp green. And I noticed that this one shot up in price very quickly. And so when I bought it, I'm like, I bought it for, regular price, like under $30 or so. And then it shot up to like 80. And I'm like, well, should I sell this and buy a $30 black copy? I mean, I don't really collect colors. So I never opened it as far as the vinyl. I've just been playing my digital copy. And then I realized I still haven't opened this. And I have it listed on Discogs for sale, but I need to revisit that because maybe I just need to lower the price. Maybe I need to let it go. Maybe I should open it, But they released a lot of color variants, and this is one of the ones. It was one of the limited to XM300, limited to a small amount, so the price went up. But again, I'd like to get my money back for that if I could, if it's worth something to somebody who wants to buy it for the collection of colors. But to me, I'd be fine with the black copy, and so I just had not opened this. And now that I'm pulling this out and looking at it, I need to make a decision. Open it and enjoy it, or sell it and buy a black copy for cheaper and make a few bucks. But anyway, I love all the stuff with the new singer. I love all the stuff with the old singer. I think the entire catalog is great. It's just one of those bands that I latched onto in the 80s. Even before Restless and Wild with that song, didn't stick with it much, but Restless and Wild they became one of the bands that are top tier in my collection. That's it for this one, though. It's been on long enough. I'll see you later. Rock on and rock hard.